when AJ walked out yesterday, I've got to say, he had a look on his face as if to say, wow, as well. It's been over 3 years now since he's boxed in an event like this. Povetkin last time at Wembley. And, I think he's, the nerves were there yesterday in a good way. I think he's excited. He's going to be switched on sharp. About 68,000 people, incredible venue here, great stadium, and the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric.
68,000, what that incredible. Is just, well, remember Wembley that great night, but this is going to be up there. So Eddie, without giving too much away, what about AJ? We hear he's lost a fair bit of weight. Is that just for, I don't know, lighter on his feet, taking on a top, one of the best cruiserweights we've ever seen, now a heavyweight?
Yeah, I think he's just trained. I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to stand on the scales after every session. He's just trained accordingly to the opponent. I think, he used to lift a lot of weights. He used to do a lot of explosive work. I think the last thing you want to do against Usyk is come in bulked up and slow. Usyk's got great feet. He has great movement. You need to be sharp on your feet. I don't think he'll lose any power. In fact, I think he'll have more power being a little bit lighter because he'll be a lot sharper. And I think his speed will be even more. It's going to be interesting on the scales today, 1 o'clock at the O2, because everyone's going to analyse the weights. Usyk looks a lot bigger than he did in the Chisora fight. I think he's going to come in maybe 5, 6, 7 pound more. I actually think there'll only be maybe a half a stone weight difference on the scales today. But that's Usyk building himself up to that weight, really not naturally, like eating and lifting weight. This is just AJ's natural weight. He is the natural heavyweight in this fight. And I hope that could be the difference on the night.
Eddie, how did the press conference go yesterday? I saw Usyk's suit and it was very, very colourful.
It was a terrible rascal. He came dressed as, he was the Joker in a Joker's outfit, and he likes people to think. A lot of it is mind games with Usyk. He is a strange one, but he wants people to think that he's this, sort of psychoanalysis sort of figure, and that he can just get into your mind and play with you in the ring, and and he's, to be fair, he's quite scary because he looks like he has zero fear, and I think when he walks out on Saturday, if you look at his achievements as a cruiserweight, he went to Germany to beat Marco Huck, he went to Russia to beat Gassiev, he went to Latvia to beat Bradis, he came to Manchester to beat Bellew, he went to the UK again to beat Chisora. Like he's travelled, but these AJ nights are a little bit different. They're not just a standard arena night. They are, the intensity is on another level. So you're going to see a top-level heavyweight matchup on Saturday.
He's not small, is he? I'm talking about height now, because you're a tall lad, and I'm looking at the picture. He's up there.
He's 6'3". Yeah, he's 6'3", and AJ's 6'6". I think AJ's going to have about 4 inches reach on him. He's definitely the bigger guy, but he's got to get hold of him. He's got to get hold of him. And those first 5 or 6 rounds, he's got to put a dent in Usyk. He's not going to come out reckless, but he's got to put a dent in him, to the body, to the arms, to the head, wherever he can. Because once Usyk gets in his rhythm, he's a very, very difficult man to beat.
Eddie, I look at AJ from a fan's point of view, and I think the Andy Ruiz loss helped him become a better fighter. His strategy, he can control distance a little bit better now. In hindsight, is that probably the best thing that could have happened to AJ? Not obviously, it was difficult at the time. He's gone back and won the rematch. But is that something that you feel has made AJ a much better fighter?
Yeah, at the time, we certainly didn't think it was the best thing that would happen to him. It was a disaster. But the rematch, he came good in that. I think, to be honest, Trevor, it's just experience. AJ's always been learning on the job, and only now is he actually becoming a seasoned heavyweight in his prime. I keep saying people don't give him the credit for his resume. When you look over his last 12 fights, Dillian Whyte, Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, Eric Molina, Vladimir Klitschko, when he didn't really have a clue what he was doing, quite frankly. Carlos Takam unifies against Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, Kubrat Pulev, and now Alexander Usyk. That's a 12-fight straight run, right? And no heavyweight has a resume like that. And this could be his biggest win. But it's just experience. He's a lot more sure of himself now than he was when he went in, even when he fought Ruiz. But certainly when he was fighting Klitschko, he just relied on his strength and his heart. Now he can box, he can move. I just don't want to see him. He wants to show people how good he is in that respect. Just got to be careful against someone like Usyk. Like the last person you want to skill off with is Alexander Usyk.
Yeah.
You know, use your size, use your speed. Don't have to be reckless, but anytime he gets close to him, if it's in the clinch, if it's up against the ropes, he's got to nail him, and he's got to slow Usyk's feet down. He's got to take his heart away from him, and ultimately he's got to beat him up, because that's what the game's all about, especially with the big boy.
Yeah, Eddie, Tony Bellew yesterday was talking about, he said, I was doing all right, but the guy just wore me down. He said, I just ran out of energy. He's just constant, coming at me. He wasn't even blowing. You know, what did you make of the fight against Bellew?
That's what we talked about earlier, about this mind games and stuff like that. He kind of makes you have that nervous energy before the first bell starts, because everyone talks about his feet, his movement, his feints, and you know he'll show those feints, and he'll make your brain work overtime. So while he's working you around the ring as well, he's making you think. You know, Bellew was towards the back end of his career in that fight. He was coming back down to cruiserweight. I don't think his tank was 100% anyway, but he did with his feet. He was always making Bellew think from the first round, and it got to Tony did well in that fight. After 6-7 rounds, you know, he was probably shading the fight, and then Usyk just exhausted him and knocked him out. You know, and that's what he does. He just doesn't stop moving. He doesn't stop making you think. I think that he's, you know, the extra weight that he's put on, I'm hoping it's going to slow him down a little bit, but it might give him more power and strength. You just don't know. So. This is a top-level fighter that is very good on his feet, a great thinker. And that's what I'm saying with AJ. Don't overthink it. You know, be smart, but go in there and use your attributes, which ultimately is your size, your speed, and your power. You know, AJ hits very, very hard. If he starts landing clean on Alexander Usyk, this fight will be over real quick. So that's the name of the game.
And Eddie, another great news this week for yourself. Obviously, Joshua saying, look, I'm going to finish my career with you and sign a new deal, which is fantastic news. Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's always squeaky bum time when the contract gets close to expiring with Anthony Joshua, because you know, he's a massive star. But as the relationship has gone over 8 years, we've become close, and you know, there isn't a lot of loyalty in boxing, and there isn't a lot of loyalty in sport really these days, especially with so much money that's floating around. So you have to do a good job. You know, he's not just going to stay with you because he's your mate. And we've worked so well together. You know, British boxing over the last 8 or 10 years has just gone to another level. Yes, we've done a good job, but he has been really the figurehead of that. You need an ambassador. You know, you need a star, and he's a superstar. You know, he's the only one in British boxing that can fill these 60, 70,000 stadiums, and to sign a new deal for the rest of his career. It was a big moment for Matchroom, but me personally, it's been a brilliant journey with him. And tomorrow night we go out again, and I'll be absolutely petrified, as we always are when he fights, but it's what we live for.
The undercard as well. I say undercard, some great fights, Eddie. Who else are you looking forward to?
Well, Lawrence Okoli makes the first defence of his world title against Dylan Prasovic. A really good fight at light heavyweight as well. Callum Smith, after losing to Canelo Alvarez, moves up a division. He's fighting world title challenger Lenin Castillo. It's actually a really tough fight. And there's a cracker, Florian Marku, the Albanian king, who now based in the UK, fighting Maxime Prodan from Italy via Ukraine. I mean, those two went at it yesterday. Young Campbell Hatton on the card again is going to walk out in front of 60, 70,000 people. He's being slung in well before his time. Plenty of action on the card, and around a 10 p.m. main event for AJ.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Alan Brazil. Thursday and Friday morning, 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.